Hi, Josh here, normally with the channel zzzgiantawake, but it's Saturday on the Breakfast Club. So the topic this week was decided by David Landon Cole, and he asked us to input some of our favorite science fiction movies, or what we like about science fiction. So I grew up with Star Trek in the house often, and I actually grew up with it at such a young age that I was disappointed to find out that it was not based in reality, that there was really no Captain Picard flying through space, and I grew up with The Next Generation, if that isn't obvious. The first book that I read that I felt like was an adult book, because when I was, I want to say 9, was Ender's Game, and I loved that book, and that book was awesome. Unfortunately, a few years ago I kind of discovered that Orson Scott Card is a douchebag. But that doesn't mean that I can enjoy the work. It does taint it a bit. Watched Sliders until that season was cancelled, which was unfortunate. I really liked that show, but there was one of the actors who played in it passed away. So after stopping watching Star Trek when I was about 14 to adulthood, there really wasn't much that spoke out to me that really grabbed my attention until I came across Firefly a few years ago. It was after the show was cancelled and after the movie came out, because I remember watching some of the movie and not getting why it was a big deal, or not understanding like the backstory or how it moved at such a strong pace, where it kind of assumed that you liked the characters. So I really didn't think much about it until a couple years later. My friend was playing one of the episodes at a party. I asked to borrow the season, and I fell in love. So definitely Firefly and Serenity are my favorites. Now the reason why I think that they're my favorites is that there's something about the crew and something about the way that it's played out. It feels like a western in space, which is what they were going for, and Malcolm Reynolds and all of the characters really spoke to the heart, and he allowed, Joss Whedon and the other writers allowed some of the characters who were on the crew to be somewhat unlikable, which is unusual for that type of film. And then they also had this questionable force of guys, they're not really evil, they're not evil per se, they have like a code of ethics that they definitely live by, but what they're fighting is definitely evil, where they're willing to essentially do whatever they need to sustain the status quo. And that type of story speaks to me a lot. A few of my favorite episodes were Out of Gas, War Stories, and the last one, let me hold one second, and the episode I couldn't remember was Ariel. In all of these episodes, you get a real feel for the crew and what they're doing, and why they take the stance that they can. And in Ariel, they pull a heist on a planet to steal drugs, and it questions a lot of things about what is right, what is wrong. And then at the end, and sorry if this spoils it for anybody, but I was left with the question, is Jane really going to die? And I thought that there was a good chance that yes, that Captain Malcolm Reynolds was going to let Jane die in the back because he deserved it. The other really interesting thing about that cliffhanger is that it leaves you in a place where you're like, how can we ever like Jane again? In hindsight, it's such a disappointment to find out that Fox canceled that series, that Fox wouldn't sell the rights to Joss Whedon, that Joss Whedon wouldn't turn the story over to somebody else, and for good reason. Like, if I was in Joss Whedon's situation, I wouldn't have turned it over either. But we only got one season. When he had created enough content, of course there would have been some things that he would have had to flesh out, but he had created this for 7 seasons, for 7 years. We would have had 6 more years of Firefly. I know that some of that content made it into the comic books, and that's really something that I need to check out. I just haven't had the time to, but that would be the most impactful and most and the season or the science fiction thing that captured my heart the most. And I mean, it's really low tech. Even the tech that was in it at the time was dated. So thank you guys. We'll see Peach tomorrow, and until next time, take care.